I've been posting a lot on our Instagram, and we've been getting like record hearts, man, record likes. It's so great. Uh, and I kind of alluded to some games that I wanted to talk about, but I'm going to come out of left field, and I really want to talk about a game that I played that I don't think many people will expect. And that game is Wabam Senators. Have you heard of this game at all?
Not in the slightest. I am looking it up on Board Game Geek as we speak.
Excellent. However, I will tell you about Senators. Senators, a game by Haig Tata and Ricky Tata. And Ricky Tata, you may know from this game called Coup. Have you ever played Coup before?
I love Coup.
Yep. So I really want to preface this, though, to state that I've never actually played Coup.
Ooh,
you
should. It's a classic. It's great.
I know, and I think I always get that mixed up with games like The Resistance or Avalon, but it's not like that at all.
No.
The Coup is something completely separate. But I think
also, it's not called The Coup. You can't call it The Coup.
It's too late. It's
a game about pigeons.
It's a game about Coup. Coup. Oh man.
Sorry, where were you going with that?
Ripping pepperonis. The Coup. Oh man. So, anyways, Senators. This is a fun game. It's a game about blackmail, bidding, and bribery in ancient Rome. The 3Bs of that.
It's the new version of 4X games. We've got 4X games. We've got 3B games.
Yeah, you got 3B games. The 3B games. So, Senators. Let's show a picture of Senators, all right? So, in Senators, you pick like I don't know if you pick like a house, but essentially you pick your senator and you get like a little player screen, and it gives you a bunch of stuff to start off with. And you pick a color, and you get all these discs, and you have the starting resources at the beginning of the game. So you'll notice that at the top of the screen, you'll see, 1, 2, and 3 resources, and then you'll have number 4 offices, which we'll get to. And then you have right below it, you have these kind of fold out, or not fold out, but you have these paper, these cardboard tableau things that talk about like the different places where you get to put your bidding, which we'll talk to. You have your senators, and then you have these flipped over resources, which we'll talk about in a minute. Then you have this events pile, and event piles are fun things that basically affect the entire round for what you're going to be able to do. So what you do in this game is you are trying to collect the most amount of senators to win, which is simple enough. But how do you get senators? So what you need to do is at the beginning of your turn, you flip over an event card, and something weird is going to happen. I don't want to say good. I don't want to say bad. Just something weird is going to happen, all right? And so you do whatever weird thing happens, and then you have like one of 3 things that you can do. You can, start a blind. You can start bidding. 2, you can extort. Or 3, you can buy stuff. Or you can buy your senators, right? So how this works is that there are all these different types of resources, such as grain, such as iron. I think there's like gold. There's different varieties of different resources that are in the game, and they all have this number value. So it's like from 1, 3, 5, 7, like 1 to 9, I think, but I think they increment in like 3s. So like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 in odd forms, shall we say. And if you decide to choose that you want to bid, what you do is you flip over the top card out of each of the 4 decks, and then you lay it out in front. And then much like the estates, what happens is that everyone goes around and then can place bids, 1 bid per column, on if they want that specific card. So say, for instance, in this example, green wanted to own the grain 1 for 2, I don't know what they call them, like not dineros, but like there's like a very specific weird, like it's 2 money, right? There's some other weird keyword they use, but it's like 2 money. And then they wanted the 2 for 5, and then they wanted the 4th one for a total 1. And then the next turn, the next player goes around, makes their bid, and then it goes back then to the original person who called the bid, and then they have to either decide whether they want to pay the top bidder that much amount of money to get that resource, or if they want to accept that money from the player who bid on it. So for instance, if I really wanted grain 1, I would have the green player pay me $2 in order for them to take the grain. If I wanted to own the 5 iron, I would pay the green person 5 money in order to take the 5 iron. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to accumulate sets of 3. And when you accumulate sets of 3, you can cash them in for money, and you would total all the numbers at the bottom, and you'd get that much money. And then when you were to ever decide back on your turn that you wanted to purchase or buy in or sell, I don't remember the keyword is, like you want to buy senators, you can then pay, I think it's $7 per senator to then get a senator, which nets you, the end game currency in order to win. And then there's called extortion. So here's the extortion part. What happens is when you start accumulating these resources, you have to put them out in front of your player tableau, and they become kind of open market for someone who wants to do the extortion. So for instance, if I am a player and you had just bought that iron 7 and I said, I want that iron 7, I'm going to extort, you can go around to each player and extort them and say, okay, I'm going to give you, or I'm going to offer you $5 for your iron 7. So that means that the player who owns it either can do one of two things. One, they can pay that extorter $5 and say, screw off. I don't want you to touch on my iron 7. Or they can accept that money and give them that iron 7. But you will have no idea what they have behind their player tableau to create these pairs or triplets or what have you. And then, of course, cashing in or buying in. And what's important to note about that action is that anybody can do that, but they have to pay an additional 5 money in order to do that to go at any point in time versus just on their turn. So it's kind of something where you have to be like, if you're flush of cash and you want to be able to get in senators, you could theoretically do it on someone else's turn, and then you have your turn to do bidding or extorting. This game surprised me a lot, and as I was going over Coup, I want to say I don't know what the similarities are, so I'm going to have to leave it up to the listeners who are playing Coup to really tell me if this is a sequel or if it kind of strays away enough in order to be its own thing. But having not played Coup and just playing Senators, I really dug this game a lot.
It sounds nothing like Coup.
Okay, I'm glad. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but just because.
No, it's a fine thing. I mean, it sounds great. How close is it to the Estates? It started out sounding a lot like the Estates until you got to the towards the end where you could pay other people stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the bidding aspect where you flip over the cards and everyone goes around and puts their bids in is, I think, as Estates as it gets.
Okay.
Then there's the extortion part, and then there's taking that money and then buying your senators.
Got it.
So, yeah. So, Coin Flip Show says this game plays nothing like Coup, which is good.
Yeah.
Gaxio says the bluffing is about the only resemblance I see. So, yeah.
The Estates is much more brutal, they're saying. That's interesting. Do you find that true?
Yeah, I would definitely say that is true, because I think the Estates has a much more closed-off economy than senators. Senators, you have money coming into the game with the cards that you trade in for money. In the Estates, you have this set amount of money, and none of it comes in and none of it leaves. It all just goes back and forth between different players. So I think the Estates is much more brutal as well too, because in the Estates, remember, it's much easier, I think, to go into the negative points with the Estates than it is with this game. Also too, if you ever run out of money, you can always sell some of your senators for $5. Okay. So it's the senators also act as these little tiny loans. So it's if you ever find yourself in a rut, you can always sell a senator and do that. And there's also these event cards that might say okay, in terms of the bidding too, right? So it even gets a little bit more modern arty, right? Where there's all these different types of bidding mechanisms in the game. So for instance, there are event cards in the game where it's okay, all players must place a bid. And if all bids are over 14, then whoever has the highest bid will get a senator for free. So it's okay, everybody wants to try to put in enough, but not so much so that they can maybe get a senator on the cheap. And then everyone else has to discard their cash. Yeah, this is a, like I said, I saw this at a game store, and then my friend Cole had it recommended to him, and he couldn't find it anywhere besides the store that I usually go to. So I was like, "Hey, I'm heading back there. Do you want me to see if they have it for you?" And sure enough, I got it. We played it like the next weekend, and it was cool. I dug it a lot. I definitely want to play this again. We played it at 3 players and it worked really well. I think it plays 3 to 5, and I think it would be great at any level. I can't say though. I can only say though at 3 that it plays well. For 4 and 5, I hope to play it at those links. I think it'll be a lot more fun too.
So if you had to choose between the estates and this one, I mean, they sound different enough. I mean, is that even possible to compare the two, or are they different enough where you'd be fine with either of them? Or if you had to choose one, which one would you choose?
If I had to choose between the estates and senators,
Yeah.
Good question.
But it could be apples and oranges.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna break. I think they're both their own unique game. And I want to say that if you're in the position to buy either one of the two, if you have the money, but if you have the money. Well, if you have the money, buy both. All right, let's just put it this way. Okay, but if you could only buy one, if you could afford it, get the estates over senators.
Yeah.
However, you can also buy the senators for half the price.
Yeah.
It's like $25, and it offers like kind of a similar feel as well. Coin Flip Show says senators has a wider appeal. I would think you need the right people for the estates.
I think
that's true. I think that is true as well too.
Because the estates can be mean if you're like, and people could take things personally. Man, I love the estates though.
Yeah, the estates is fun.
But with how much I love the estates, it totally makes me want to play senators as well.
Yeah, so, oh man, because if you were to have. Some people have collections where it's like they have the best bidding game, right? And like that's what fits their collection. So you have like modern art, which could probably be the de facto one, right? But taking that out of the equation between the estates and senators, like they both come really close. And I could see myself playing the estates one, like being in both situations. I would say though that for what I would keep in my collections, it would be the estates for me personally. And that's just how I feel. I kind of dig the estates more than the senators, but I'm not trying to also say though that the senators is a bad game. It's just it's just different in its own way.
Well, I mean, it's true. I tend to do that with my game collection. I'm trying to get, if there are games that are too similar, I will get rid of one because I don't, I want to go quality over quantity, that's been the past like 18 months, I would say. If not longer. So that's the thing. Like if it's estates adjacent, that's hard to say. Yeah, I don't know. I'd try it. I definitely would try it, especially at that price point. Right. That's big.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's like the estates on a discount almost.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. It's just, I recommend playing senators. I recommend you, playing it, and hopefully you dig in enough that you'll buy it. And I just have to say thumbs up. I enjoyed this game a lot. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
The Senators by Indie Boarding Cards. Oh, yes. Indie Boarding Cards, the Senators, and we talked about the designers who did it too. So, also, main gripe. The 5s look like S's. Fix that, please.
That's rough.
It could easily be fixed by just kind of erasing the little tail part of the 5, but it's just like, all right, you want to buy this for S? All right, what is that?
Oh, that's really funny.